Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Hard Count podcast. We just finished up a very exciting Sunday of NFL football. We got Monday Night Football tonight, Bears, Rams. That should be a fun one. But as always, I've got 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers, a tight end pickup of the week, a QB stream of the week for you guys. You guys, you should be picking up for your fantasy teams. Let's get right into it with my running back pickups. My first guy, the most obvious guy of the week, biggest pickup of the week, Chase Edmonds. And he might not be available in your league, but if he still is, definitely pick up Chase Edmonds off the waivers. We saw Drake go down in last night's thriller against the Seahawks, which was one of the best games of the year. And after Drake went down, Edmonds was very productive. Drake went down with an injury that appeared to be an ankle injury. He was carted off the field. And I think we can realistically expect Drake to be out for 3 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So Edmonds, though, in this time is going to be an RB1, RB2 for your team every week. After Drake went out, he had 135 yards. Very good. 7 receptions as well, so maybe he can get very involved in the receiving game. So this is the type of production I think you can expect every week from Chase Edmonds going forward. As I said, RB1, RB2 for your team. And I mean, what was our frustration with this Cardinals offense? Edmonds was limiting Drake. Drake was limiting Edmonds. We don't have that to worry about now. Edmonds is going to be the lead back in Arizona until Drake comes back. I don't have too much to say. Edmonds is an RB1, RB2, just sitting on waivers right now if he's there, which he may not be, but go pick up Edmonds if he is there, and he will be a huge help to your team. All right, let's move on to my second running back, and it is another guy filling in for an injury, Carlos Hyde of the Seattle Seahawks. We saw Chris Carson exit relatively early in the game against the Cardinals, and he didn't return. So it was Hyde that was able to take over that role. He was able to get most of the touches. And what I've been hearing is that Carson has a mid-foot sprain. Seems to be relatively mild, which is good for Carson because if it's moderate or major, he would likely have to be sitting out for the rest of the year. But mild, it's going to sideline him for at least 2 to 3 weeks. But that is perfectly enough time where Carlos Hyde could come in and be very productive in the Seahawks running back role that has given Carson a very productive season so far. So Hyde is going to come in and take those touches, become the lead back in this Seahawks offense, which is very good. So although he has a tough matchup this week against the 49ers, you get him for the next couple weeks, it's going to be a good thing for Carlos Hyde. So definitely pick him up. He's going to be filling in that Chris Carson role in Seattle. So yeah, pick up Carlos Hyde for your fantasy teams. Next, we're going to be talking about 2 guys here, kind of go hand in hand, JaMycal, Hasty, and Tevin, Coleman. And Hasty has been good this year, pretty efficient with his carries, 37 yards on 9 carries in week 6, 57 on 9 carries in week 7. And last week we saw Jeff Wilson kind of be the lead back out of the guys we were uncertain about, but he left the game with what seemed like a pretty serious leg injury. So I like JaMycal Hasty quite a bit. He's going to be the primary runner on this very good rushing attack in San Francisco, which is a guy you want on your team. He's a pretty high priority ad. And the one contingency for that is if Tevin Coleman returns for week 8, that leads us perfectly here. And that, I think Shanahan has said that it's an outside chance that this happens, but Raheem Mostert is being put on IR. Jeff Wilson's going to miss time too. Coleman, in the next couple weeks, could come in and become the lead back for this 49ers offense instantly. Yes, JaMycal Hasty, as I just said, is going to have some chance to earn himself some touches in this offense, but Shanahan's always going to be spreading the ball out to running backs, and that San Francisco backfield is a very valuable one. So either of these guys, they're not very much owned in Yahoo leagues, or any leagues for that matter, so definitely go pick them up. So yeah, pick up JaMycal Hasty and Tevin Coleman for your fantasy teams. Next, and my final running back pickup is Zach Moss of the Buffalo Bills. I've praised this guy quite a bit on my channel. I liked Moss through the course of the offseason. He was the reason I told you guys, do not draft Devin Singletary. I think that's held true pretty much when Moss is on the field. Singletary is not very effective. Moss, just this past week, outrushed Devin Singletary 47-29, outgained him in the reception game as well, 25-18. And Singletary in the past 4 games for Buffalo has only averaged 3.0 yards per carry. He's never gotten more than 56 rushing yards in any week. So I have not been impressed with what I've seen from Devin Singletary whatsoever. That opens the door for Zach Moss. He will be getting plenty of opportunity moving forward in this offense. He's going to remain the goal line guy, along with Josh Allen, of course. In this Bills offense, that's what you want. He's got touchdown upside every single week that Devin Singletary does not nearly as much have. Moss is a guy that can get involved in the receiving game as well. He was a good pass catcher at Utah. I only expect his role in this offense to increase. I really like Zach Moss here. Next week, we get to see the Bills play a Patriots defense that was just beaten up on the ground all game by the 49ers. So I like Zach Moss quite a bit to have a big game this coming week, and he's always got touchdown upside. So pick up Zach Moss. He's owned in about half of Yahoo leagues. So yeah, pick up Zach Moss. Next, we're moving on to our wide receiver pickups. And the first guy I'm going to here is Brandon Aiyuk, rookie wide receiver for the 49ers. And we got a breakout game here, 115 yards, 6 receptions. We've seen him have some very productive weeks here for the 49ers. And it's seemingly more and more consistent. And you get Deebo Samuel, injured with a hamstring injury that could sideline him for about 6 weeks, which is really unfortunate for him because he was looking very, very good. But you take these solid production weeks, the Deebo Samuel injury, and Brandon Aiyuk is looking like a very, very good pickup for your fantasy team. So, this 49ers offense is getting things together. I've been impressed with what I've seen from Aiyuk. And he's finally gotten the opportunity to gain that chemistry with Jimmy Garoppolo. So this week he gets a very good matchup as well against Seattle's secondary. And Aiyuk may not be available in your league, but if he is, pick him up. He's got a great matchup. He's finally getting chemistry with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's becoming a more reliable guy in fantasy. And one thing I will say, if Aiyuk is not available in your league, most likely Kendrick Bourne of the 49ers is. And for similar reasons, go pick him up as well. But Brandon Aiyuk should be your number one guy in this 49ers offense that you're targeting this week. Definitely go pick him up if you need a wide receiver to play for this upcoming week in your flex or as a wide receiver too. Next, we've got another combo, another two-guy thing we're going to be talking about here. Two guys that go hand in hand. Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones of the Cleveland Browns. And we all know the big news, why these two guys make the list. Unfortunately, Odell Beckham Jr. is out for the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. And this really helps both of these guys fantasy-wise. Of course, not a good thing for Odell Beckham Jr. I hope for a speedy recovery for him. But Higgins becomes the wide receiver two for this Browns offense, and Peoples-Jones becomes the wide receiver 3. Big upgrades there for them. Higgins has had a touchdown in his past 2 games, and just in his past game after Odell went down, he had 110 receiving yards. Definitely a good sign of things to come. And then you got Peoples-Jones, who has actually been under the radar, pretty productive for the Browns, even with Odell. In the last 3 weeks, he's had 73, 99, and 89 yards. And he becomes the wide receiver 3 in this offense, which is not a bad thing to be. So, Peoples-Jones definitely not a guy that's going to get an absurd amount of targets, but he's a guy that's going to be productive on those targets. This past week against the Bengals, we saw him put up 56 yards and a touchdown. And so, as I mentioned, not going to be a guy getting a ton of targets, more valuable in standard leagues, but he's still viable to pick up in deeper PPR leagues. So these guys both, Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones, have some flex value, but I would tend to fade them against good teams, playoff caliber teams, as we've seen that Browns offense really struggle against those better defenses, and play them much more confidently against weaker teams in the NFL, because that's where we see much more of a passing game, much more of a better offense from the Browns. So really pay attention to the matchup. These guys have flex value every week depending on their matchup. But yeah, Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, definitely guys you want to consider picking up. And next, my third wide receiver on the list, Nelson Agholor of the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think it's time we start taking Nelson Agholor a little bit seriously. He's scored in each of the past 3 weeks. His yardage totals have gone up each of the past 3 weeks. He just had 107 in this past game, which is pretty good against that Buccaneers defense, which is a very good defense. And right now, the Raiders do not have too much at the wide receiver position, so Agholor is in a position to have a pretty solid role in that offense. It's not the biggest pickup. It's not like a guy you need to go out and grab right now, but I've liked what I've seen from this Raiders offense. Agholor is carving himself out a role in that offense. And this week, we see the Raiders play the Cleveland Browns, who were absolutely lit up by Joe Burrow and that offense, as he posted 406 yards. I expect another high-scoring shootout game in this Raiders-Browns game this coming week. Now, I will say Agholor does have a low floor, but some nice upside, some flex value this upcoming matchup with Cleveland. A guy that you might want to consider picking up and playing this week in your flex is Nelson Agholor. My fourth and final wide receiver for you guys to pick up this week is Denzel Mims of the New York Jets. And I will say Mims is not a guy that you absolutely need to pick up this week. And this week is the only week he's going to provide value. He's more of a guy that you're going to be adding to your team, stash on your bench for now. And he made his debut this past week for the Jets. I really liked him coming out of college. And he was looking pretty good in that Jets game. He had a solid debut, 4 catches for 47 yards. Not the greatest, but it's decent. And we saw Brashad Perriman go out. So if Mims can move up this depth chart, that's only better. He's going to get more chances in this Jets offense. So again, not a must pick up, but if you want to be a proactive fantasy owner, pick up a guy in Denzel Mims, who I really like as a football player, expect his role as a Jet to continue to increase. Pick Denzel Mims up and put him on your bench. So yeah, those were my 4 wide receiver pickups and 4 running back pickups. Now let's move on to my tight end pickup of the week. Last week it was Trey Burton. This week it is Richard Rodgers of the Philadelphia Eagles. And we thought that Richard Rodgers was going to get involved in this passing game, but he's led this team in receiving. He posted the highest receiving yards in that Giants-Eagles game, 85 yards with 6 receptions. And the only guy that got more targets than him was Travis Fulgham, who's been lighting up the world. So Ertz is going to be out for another 3 weeks. Goddard is not expected to be back until week 10. So these guys we're not uncertain about, but we know that Richard Rodgers is going to be playing until either of these guys come back. So Rodgers is going to be getting heavy usage this week against this Cowboys defense that has been very, very bad this year. So I like Richard Rodgers quite a bit. Yes, he's got a bye the week after he plays the Cowboys, but this week he is a big pickup against the Cowboys defense that is atrocious, and he's going to continue to have some value as long as Goddard and Ertz are out. All right, that was my tight end pickup of the week. And then we move on to my QB stream of the week, and we're going back to Teddy Bridgewater here. I think it's a good idea at this point to play anybody against Atlanta. He does play on Thursday night, so that's not the best matchup, but it's a good matchup for Teddy Bridgewater playing Atlanta, which has been absolutely lit up by passing offenses all year. One of the worst defenses in the NFL, so just a very, very favorable matchup for them. And I've been impressed with what I've seen from this Carolina Panthers offense thus far. I think it's got a very underrated receiving core. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. So I like this team quite a bit, this offense quite a bit. I like a high-scoring game against Arizona, and Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a huge benefactor of that. He's kind of been an under-the-radar, pretty successful quarterback this year in fantasy. So this week he gets a great matchup with Arizona, and you want to take advantage of that. So go pick up Teddy Bridgewater this week. And if Bridgewater's not available, some other options are Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield, who play each other. And Derek Carr, I've loved what I've seen from this offense. We've gotten to see them stretch the ball downfield a little bit more. And the Browns defense is awful, absolutely lit up by Joe Burrow's Bengals this past week. And I could definitely see the Raiders having a similar caliber game. So I like Derek Carr. I think he's a very good quarterback against a very bad defense. I like Derek Carr this upcoming week against Cleveland, as well as Baker Mayfield against this Raiders defense that has not been good. And I know I've made a video on A2 Sports' channel about why Baker Mayfield isn't good, but one of my points was Baker Mayfield's going to be fine against bad defenses because he's comfortable, and the Raiders are a bad defense. So I like Baker Mayfield to get really involved in the passing game, have a pretty successful game here against the Raiders. So yeah, my QB stream of the week is Teddy Bridgewater, but if he's not available, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, some other options if you need them. So yeah, those were my week 8 waiver wire pickups for fantasy football. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, peace.